Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Take 5. It's Tuesday, August 16th, 2011, and I'm cutting my head off. There we go. Alright, we've got an interesting passage today. Very interesting, and we're going to spend a couple days on it. So we're going to start it, though, Mark chapter 7, verse 1. Now, when the Pharisees, and listen, let me just stop right there. Whenever you see Pharisees, Sadducees, scribes, just remember these three things. And this will help you apply it to modern day. Just remember religious, prideful leaders. Now when the Pharisees gathered to him with some of the scribes who had come from Jerusalem, they saw that some of his disciples ate with hands that were defiled, that is, unwashed. For the Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they wash their hands, holding to the tradition of the elders, and when they come from the marketplace they do not eat unless they wash. And there are many other traditions that they observe, such as the washing of cups and pots and copper vessels and dining couches. And the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, Why do your disciples not walk according to the tradition of the elders, but eat with defiled hands? And he said to them, Well did Isaiah prophesy of you hypocrites, as it is written, These people honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men. You leave the commandment of God and hold to the tradition of men. Well, I'm not going to be popular today, I'll tell you that right now. Because we're dealing with commandments of God versus traditions of men. Traditions of men, like saying the Hail Marys. Whoops. Traditions of men, like having a discipleship partner. Traditions of men, like going through certain studies you have to go through before you can get baptized. Traditions of men. Oh, there are so many, aren't there? Like going on double dates only when you are single. Should I continue? I think I shall. Traditions of men, like only attending certain churches in certain cities that hold to all of our other traditions of men. Traditions of men, like not allowing women to speak in front of the congregation. Traditions of men, like not even allowing women to pass out communion or things like that. Traditions of men, like not using instruments in our worship. Boy, we got lots of traditions. Now, some traditions aren't problems. A lot of those things I mentioned, nothing wrong with having a discipleship partner, nothing wrong with going through a study series, nothing wrong with visiting churches that have the same kind of beliefs that you do, nothing wrong with that. But when these things take priority over the Word of God, that's a problem. Nothing wrong with a cappella music. Most of those things there's nothing wrong with. There are some things wrong with forbidding people to marry as a tradition in one church, or teaching them to abstain from certain foods. There's a problem there because the Word of God directly addresses that. Or worshiping a statue or a figure or Jesus' mother or things like that. Yes, those are problems. Sprinkling infants is a problem. That's not taught in the Word of God. So just be careful. Even if you have some good traditions, be careful that those traditions aren't more important than the Word of God. I'll give you a real good one. And I know I'm going a little over, but we're going to get into this tomorrow too. Okay? Say you're going to church on Sunday. And it's a good tradition to go to church. But you see somebody stuck on the side of the road that needs your help. Well, you could say, well, we got to go to church. Okay? But what's more important? Helping your fellow man is more important than getting to church on Sunday. Do you see what I mean? And that's sort of the parable of the Good Samaritan, isn't it? So you stop and help them, and if you have time left over, you go and finish, go to the end of the worship service or something, or bring the person with you if you can. But, you got to love God, love your neighbor. Those are primarily the main things. Everything else goes under that. So if you've got a tradition that's hindering you from loving God with all your heart or loving your neighbor as yourself, that tradition needs to be looked at and maybe put down quite a bit on your priority list. All right, went a little bit over, but we're going to cover this again tomorrow. Same kind of thing, dealing with a specific tradition that these guys had where it was causing them to disobey the Word of God. All right, come back tomorrow on the next edition of Take 5.